not as strong as you'd like.
It also seemed a little awkward because there was not only Soul, but there was Kronos with the Soul. And if you're going to put Amaterasu there, you're looking for these aggressive hunters to be able to make the plays and dominate that laning phase. Maybe look for a jungle invade because Amaterasu, comparatively to any level 1 Guardian, will just out DPS them with hands.
Well, Camazot's taken away. You don't want to give that adapting, but to be fair, there's most gods you don't want to give adapting. NRG, however, will ban the same 2 bans they did last time round in Fafnir and Ganesh.
I mean, this is just not a different story for NRG that's needed if they were able to play the way they did. Papis will is change things around as they ban away the Geb, really respecting that the way Raffer was able to engage and blink on in was too much for them to handle.
So with Bellona being locked in here, you could potentially leave a Cyrus up for yourselves for 3rd pick and take maybe mid and support. I do like they've gone for support early here because that's what we saw was the issue last time. Draco Marina had to go very deep in his God pool to find someone available.
That's true. The Amaterasu with the Soul combination just didn't work out for Papis, but this time around switching things up, going for a more traditional physical hunter here with a defensive support. Allow Emilito or Yamit to play the Soul, that's fine. Just get off a composition that works for you, because it seems to me that Papis was trying to make NRG's draft work for themselves.
Yeah, and at least try and strip away certain aspects of it, of not giving them Sol and Kernanos. Yeah. That's what they seem to have done this game too, is taking Kernanos for themselves, doesn't give NRG that combo. Athena back in the fray though. Raffer's experience on Athena hasn't been the strongest throughout the years. As you can see, he's only picked it once and lost so far this split. But he's not his strongest god, although he's starting to grow into this as time's gone on.
Still a great goddess at the end of the day. Sure. She does her job effectively. All you have to do is just be a dash taunt bot, and that's all that Raffer needs to be to set up Yamit, set up Emilito, allow them to farm in the early game, and then they're going to be carrying the later.
Isis banned out by NRG again, respecting the Papis mid lane here. A little bit concerned about the amount of control that can bring in the early game alongside an Isis.
Nemesis, though, being locked in for Papis as well, so they really want to be able to dive the backline, and considering there's a Kernanos here. Normally, you see something that can execute somebody after all the initial burst damage from Nemesis, so I'm surprised Papis didn't go for a ROM necessarily.
Do you expect a Cyrus for the Papis Creed in the solo lane here up against this Bellona with it being left up?
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a Cyrus, but I definitely would like to see more control coming out of Papis. Sure. Maybe go for a Guardian, go for, Sobek, Shin-Chan, Ymir, whatever the case is, to win some of these team fights.
Scylla in the mid lane this time round. We'll see what the Papis can do with that. NRG have 2 picks remaining. They're needing a hunter potentially here if Sol's not going to be just that. And adapting taking Thor can dictate Bellona and Athena in support and solo respectively.
First time Thor for this split, for adapting. He's been doing a good job just always being so diverse in his god pool, just hiding the Thor, because we know how powerful he is with this Thor. He's been always all over the place.
Hoyi mid or Hoyi hunter?
I want to say it's going to be Hoyi Hunter because of the way NRG has started doing back harpies into the red buff. We've seen Raffer get off the Hog and /or Bumba's Mask to be able to get off the back harpies red buff into lane very quickly.
Makes a lot of sense. I would love to see Yamin's Hoyi. We don't get to see that too often with his hunters in mid lane, especially with Emilito on the team. Emilito is probably the one that wants to be known as the more aggressive of the two.
And we saw what he was able to do at one of those lands against Rival there. I'm not sure if it was the Gauntlet or the Spring Split land, but that one, the first game against Rival, Emilito just hit off that sick ricochet bounce around the top of the Gold Fury. That's what won him the game.
Well, we'll see if we can do it again in this one. Obviously, this is set 3 of today. And game 2 of this set, where NRG took game 1, it's back to the start again. Keep an eye on what Emilito gets up to at the start, which is run all the way in to basic attack range to try and actually pick up some hits on Dalo and have his beads forced.
I mean, that was a great counter rotation from Warchi. A lot of these teams have been adapting to putting all 5 members around the mid lane to make sure that there's no crazy shenanigans from the enemy solo laner for good reason. By doing so, now that one defensive relic taken away from Emilito means that he has to be mindful about his positioning in the duel lane.
Yeah, I would actually like to see the duel lane of Papis go a little bit more aggressive now, just because they know those beads are down. But instead, Draco started in the mid lane as Warchi started his red buff. Raffer and Emilito, with the ricochet in the hand, will be able to clear up that red relatively quickly and move on towards the purple too. Surprising, Tolik. Let's look at this at the starts now. We're seeing back to Season 3, where jungle gets stripped at the start, and at least on the left-hand side, and the minion wave is just left to kill itself, not being farmed and pushed into tower, which we've seen multiple times before.
And then we also saw proxying looking to start off the season for. It's Oh-Ho Boom. Doesn't have Sentinel to be able to escape this. Adapting could chase this down. Nice slow from Dimmy with a shield charge. Adapting just needs to hit one more shot.
Really nice play coming out there from NRG.
Oh, they're not done!
And they will get Dalo too. But notice what they did with the speed buff, Toli. They killed the little babies at the speed buff, which gave Dimmy level 2, which allowed him to find that shield bash for the slow, knowing that Oh-Ho Boom was still level 1.
Oh, no.
Emelito has no beads, remember?
He doesn't have beads, but he has Rafa right around the corner. He just needs to buy a little bit of time. Nice body blocking. The dash from Ward. She needs to just body block some more shots, but the glaives is all that's needed.
I actually think if Emelito would have pathed towards Gold Fury and round towards Yaron, it might have worked out a little bit better there. Rafa obviously had his dash, didn't have his taunt available. If he would have gone taunt there, we could have potentially seen NRG's Emelito survive there, but in the end, Papis get themselves on the board early, so let's go!
And that's why it's so important to really prioritize certain abilities for between levels 2 or 3 if you need to play more defensive or more offensively. Obviously, Rafa getting his shield wall to be able to clear the red and purple quicker, but at level 2, with Emelito not having bees, he probably should have opted to go for the taunt in case Emelito got in a sticky situation.
Rafa's eating a lot more damage than he'd like to in that lane there, but it's Brace of Undoing used by Draco early on, and Emelito now at level 2. Been punished heavily for what he did at the start of the game by trying to get aggressive in the mid lane.
It's not surprising to see teams switch things up because sometimes the soul laners will not only gank soul lane, but they'll gank dual lane at level 1, then teleport back to their lane. So the fact that a hunter ganks mid lane, it's just another element of surprise.
It's not unusual, but it cost him his beads. That's the big key.
Sure, it cost him his beads. Maybe he didn't even need to use beads there realistically there at level 1. As long as you're not taking a tower shot, you're able to rely on your teammates to really deflect some of the damage that stealth.
But look at how good NRG are doing in the mid and jungle right now. Adapting's level 5, ganking Creed again, and he did this last game up against the Sun Wukong. He looked for the early pressure gank before he hit level 5, and he's doing just that again. No hesitation with his abilities there. He knew Dimmy was going to come with a follow-up Son of Eagles rally, so didn't drop his wall. He just span.
He wanted to really try to... He didn't want to get the hammer off right away in case that he needed to use it defensively, but then he was kind of hesitant at the end there, finally using his hammer towards the end, getting away with one more tower shot remaining, and this is the telltale sign of a world-class jungler and soul laner recognizing what they can and can't get away with.
Well, 3-1 now is the lead because of that, and the gold is just over 1,000 already at 3 minutes in. Very, very similar to how the start of last game began. Papis on the back foot, but their late game is very strong here, Toli, so as long as they don't get ridiculously far behind, they still are in this game.
That's very true. Scylla being played by Oh-Ho Boom is going to do quite a lot of work towards the late game Warchi on this current nose. It's going to be pretty much evenly matched with Emelito playing the Hou-Yi, but it's all about the setup here onto Oh-Ho Boom. Draco Marino is going to need to find those perfect routes or pulls.
And Dalo, late game is fantastic. Playing a Nemesis. You can always be happy with having a Nemesis in your team in the later stages just because of the amount of protections and health it will take away with just the ultimate alone.
Which will amplify a lot of the damage onto Oh-Ho Boom, trying to find the reset on the Amba Monster. Adapting might be looking for some more aggression, but with Draco Marino here, it's not really worth aggressing with that Scarab's Blessing available.
And this seems to be the adaptation at Papis now, is to send Draco over towards the solo mid side to support the pressure in the jungle and onto the solo laner too. Adapting still trying to steal away the speed buff and will get it thanks to Rafa dunking in. Adapting has to jump to his hammer back away, and NRG want to just disengage. They're leaving Dimmy on his own, but Dimmy's got the Eagles rally if he needs to get away, and in the end Papis just have to walk away back to doing their own jungle, recognizing they won't pick up Dimmy just yet.
Watch as Adapting walks away with speed buff, leaving Dimmy behind.
Watch as Adapting is in the air looking for his prey once more, aiming for the monkey, and the monkey did not see it coming. The wall came down, as did the Hammer of Doom. But the crustacean will save the monkey from the endeavor. But for how long?
Rafa trying to throw out the spear, but it's just not enough as Dimmy approaches the tier 1 tower, getting off the rally of the Eagles and walking away.
Well, not walking away clearly. Luckily enough, Rafa will tank up the tier 1 tower for the time being and get him away from the danger zone. Nice little work from the support player there. Poor old Draco Marino can only stand and watch. Harpies on the left-hand side will go the way of Papis. Gold Fury is available, but neither team really looking towards it just yet.
Not really worth going for Gold Fury when you're so successful on the right-hand side. Just get off the vision that you need on the left to make sure that it's Papis not able to sneak it away, and just rely on Emelito or Yaman to stop the efforts, because the damage from both of those ultimates, you're looking at the Suns or Supernova, it's good enough to really disrupt the flow out of Papis.
So Thor for Adapting, we've not seen it for a while, Toli. Is Thor back all of a sudden, or is it just like he's viable?
He's always viable. There will never be a time.
People saying he needed buffs.
There will never be a time.
Why are you giggling when I said buffs? think Thor needs buffs?
Whoever says that Thor needs a buff needs to reevaluate certain things in their life.
Really? Is that why? I mean, is everyone just sick of Thor? Is that what it is?
It maybe they're sick of Thor, honestly. Like, we've seen so many Thor plays back in, Season 0 and the first year of Worlds where both teams were just always battling over the Thor pick.
Funny enough, though, I mean, we've seen this out of some gods before, where they get played so much that everybody remembers how to play against them. But not everyone remembers how to play them at the competitive level. Scylla is a prime example of that, played by Oho Boon this game, where Scylla was top pick, top ban for such a long period of time and eventually been banned out so much, she dropped from competitive play. And when she got picked up, once again, Scylla wasn't the same as she used to be because everyone remembered how to play against her, not to execute her as well as they once did.
It's all about the setup that you can find, but finding the setup onto Creed yet again is adapting, just shows his face, and that's all he really needs to do with this amount of poke damage.
Piggy, 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 that's what Emelito is right now. Fantastic of Ducks, which will get the beats and the ultimate out of Rafa too, but with Nemesis swinging in here too, we see Adapting once again looking for Creed, and I swear, I feel so sorry for that solo laner.
Just can't do
Creed,
anything. At this point,
this is every game.
At this point for Creed, he needs some crowd control reduction and health. Maybe even go for Wingblade despite not having too many slows from between Adapting and Dimmy. Just surviving from that initial Anvil of Dawn and the health boost might be enough.
I don't think Creed is a terrible solo laner. I just think that he's meeting a lot of opposition here who are consistently camping him and more experienced in the Pro League of Play. The poor kid is basically going to that lane every single set of every single game and pretty much not having a fun time against him.
Same exact thing could be said about the last set when I think Deathwalker was playing the Sun Wukong and he got ganked at level 4 before he can get off into the cloud. There was just nothing he could do.
And is that one of the things with Sun Wukong is that if you can gank him before pre-5, it's really beneficial?
I mean, if you can gank any god before they get a crowd control immune ultimate that gives them health, then yeah, you're going to be looking at a good old-fashioned time. And even not finding this kill onto Creed is good enough to deny him that 25 gold and make him question the fact that, do I even leave my tower anymore?
But look at Warchi. Warchi was leading the charge on the left-hand side here. He's like, listen, Creed is against 2 consistently. We need to make something happen here. So they're going to pull the gold. Keep an eye on Yamin on that Sol, who can get a lot of damage off onto this Gold Fury, as can Oho Boom on this Scylla. Oho Boom walks into an awkward spot, and now he's a walk as Adapting rotated round. The burst from Yamin is good, and Emelito's sons are causing issues too for the Papis, who Papis now have to fall back. Drake and Marino ults himself as Adapting takes to the sky once more.
Finding the root. Dalo is going to be aggressive on both Dimmy and Adapting, missing the root, but chasing down Warchi. Dimmy goes on one, Adapting finding the other. Yamin goes on Draco. NRG are all over the place.
And when you keep putting Creed down like we have been doing, it means he can't rotate to these engagements, making NRG have a man advantage. Do like what we see Creed do, though. He farmed up mid lane, put pressure on there, and looks to strip away the speed buff, but I don't think he'll get it in time.
Watch as Creed tries to steal away Adapting's speed buff. He did it! He got it, but can he get away? He goes into the Eagle 4.
I tell you what, if Adapting was there, Toli, I think that would be a different story for Creed. Because I think Creed, because Adapting would have just rage mode then.
Adapting would be able to get up from his computer, buy a plane ticket, go over to Creed's house, and have some words.
And still the game wouldn't have ended.
Exactly.
More than likely. Well, speed buff is down. Creed ends up dying 3 times, but seeing Adapting speed, so it's even for him in the solo lane, in my opinion. Just trying to tilt solo lanes. But the bad news is, poor old Dalo hasn't seen a speed buff for quite some time on this Nemesis, and you can see that in the experience difference between the 2 junglers.
I mean, we saw in the last set here between Cubo Fred and Ice Ice Baby how impactful it is to really shut down a jungler here, and Adapting is doing the same exact thing against Dalo, 3 levels ahead here, playing this Thor. I really like the idea to be able to switch things up. Playing the Thor for the first time this split, Adapting is really showing us that it doesn't matter if a god is quote-unquote in the meta or not. He'll make anything work.
Taunt from Rafa cancelled out by the abducts, a good crush damage, but meanwhile Warchi was just hanging around, get some great pressure onto Yamin. Gonna force out the Disapparate and the Aegis from Yamin back to the safety, and that forces a reset from NRG Esports there. Papis defended that pretty well. For me, it was all Warchi.
It just seemed that way. It just did not want to get off the pressure that they really could. Was NRG stopping Papis right in their tracks, but at the same time, they were getting thwarted a little bit. This little lead that they have is not enough to just run wild with.
Yeah, and the Papis composition here, we said it's good in the mid to late game specifically with the amount of damage dealers to do, but NRG are doing a good job of choking out the early game, so much so, it's going to delay Papis being viable in the mid-late game until much later on than we would have expected.
Great taunt from Raffer to be able to stop Creed from finding the cudgel to steal away the speed buff that Adapting is trying to go for.
Level 11 for Yaman in the mid lane now. Getting closer towards that second relic, which he will need relatively soon. But NRG have seen a window on this right-hand side. Papis have consistently abandoned the right-hand side of the map. And so NRG like, well, let's at least get the portal demon. But Papis, they're around the Gold Fury right now.
And Emilito doesn't have mana or an ultimate to be able to stop away this one. Here comes Oho-Boom right around the corner. They need to really get off this crush and Alma Monster.
And they're going for that right now. Alma Monster will connect and Gold Fury goes the way of Papis, but Rafa gets a 3-man taunt off. But Rafa's engaged on us. Yaman swings around the corner now looking to close the gap. Rafa has to disengage as Adapting takes to the sky. Dimmy on the way too. This could be trouble for the Papis.
They're landing onto the backline. Warshi taking a lot of damage. Not going to have his Aegis available to him to survive that one. Trying to dive that tier 2 is Dimmy thinking about it, but it's Draco Marino forced ultimate himself.
And he's just going to stand in place now as the group of NRG will pick his life up as well. That's 2 kills. The duo lane fall down from the Papis in favor of the Gold Fury their way. I guess that's even considering the fact that the Papis are so far behind right now, Tony.
Well, considering NRG also got the Portal Demon, this is actually putting them further and further ahead. NRG are taking the guaranteed, calculated risk of going for Portal Demon, recognizing that whether or not Papis gets the Gold Fury in response to this Portal Demon, they know that they can still get the better end of them in the team fight. Oho-Boom had to use the Crush and Alma Monster just to confirm that. And without those 2 abilities, NRG doesn't have to worry about much damage.
Yaman is just so confident in the mid lane, knowing that Adapting will always be there when required. Double tap did connect, as does the spin.
Oh my
Only one
God.
more is enough. The Bluestone Pendant is not going to be enough, but Dimmy.
He's trying to find him around the right-hand side, forcing Dalo to go towards the left. The ultimate from Adapting was not up to chase that kill down, but forcing out Nemesis not only stops her from farming, but allows NRG to go for this tier 1.
And the tier 1 will fall down. Warchi this time can't punish them back as he's just trying to farm up in the lane on the left-hand side. Looking at Emilito's build here, interesting Swiftwing choice.
Emilito going for the Swiftwing. Out of a Hugh Yi player, maybe he wanted to get back to the lane quick enough to also maybe stop a Gold Fury attempt, but this 5% movement speed will still be useful in some encounters.
I actually think it's because he saw Zapman's tweet the other day. Did you see Zapman's tweet about the fact that EU Hunters are so far ahead in terms of item builds right now? Maybe Emilito's trying to throw NA off by loading Swiftwing.
And then obviously during the land, he's going to do the real build.
Yeah. There you go. And then NA's meanwhile building Swiftwing. Barry's building Swiftwing up against him and he's like, baited and outsmarted as per usual, North America.
Just baited. Adapting leading the charge yet again. Speed buff going to respawn here for Papis. Poor Dalo, man, just taking so much damage. Can't even get his speed buff either. And
now the speed is about to spawn as Yamin will collapse him from the left with Ratha. Dimmy on the forefront as Adapting goes to the sky. May look for Dalo, who was trying to lazy back. Luckily enough, it wasn't super lazy. It gets away just in time. The speed will fall anyway, which we expected to happen in due course.
That's all they needed. Adapting will trade his ultimate to guarantee the steal of the speed buff. Now might be in a little trouble, but nice stellar burst from Yaman, zoning away Oho-Boom on the left.
It just feels Papis are just trying to react all the time to what NRG are doing, and NRG are just like 2 steps ahead every single time, Tolly.
It just seems that way. Dalo just got back from this fountain, already less than 20, about 25% health here, but Adapting is just baiting for Yaman. Meanwhile, Dalo's baiting for Oho-Boom.
Surprised though, Oho-Boom was waiting in the wings there. I think they could have baited Adapting a little bit longer there. Hammer was on cooldown for a few seconds. He maybe was a little bit worried about the in-hand damage coming out, but talking about in-hand damage, Dimmy's doing just that now to Draco Marino after the Eagles rally. Rafa happy to tank up the tower. They don't have enough damage just yet though to take down those 2 tanks under the tier 1.
And as the team fights start happening on the right-hand side, look at the rotation from Emilito. He's always looking to maximize the farm for himself and his teammates, which allows NRG to continue pressuring the right.
Creed just trying to farm what best he can, but now there's 4 members of NRG here, and the Crustacean will get away from the tier 1 in time. Adapting still giving chase onto Creed though. Berserker Barrage is doing nice work. Double tap, if it double hit, it would have caused a lot of problems for Creed. He will survive for now. His tier 1 tower, probably a different story. Warchi could be in some trouble too.
Not going to be able to chase this one down despite Rafa right around the corner. Dalo has made the rotation on the left, securing the purple buff, so he should be fine. But without those defensive relics coming out of Warchi, it gives a slight edge for Emilito.
Yeah, a little bit of a back and forth. They're surprised to see Emilito not engaged there, knowing Rafa was coming up and having both relics available too. In the end, I think Warchi got away with a bit of murder there.
It's also the difference of the itemization here. Looking at Warchi, he has a red buff and he also has this Odysseus bow complete with Shifter Shield, where whereas Emilito does have equal power with the Transcendence, but not in the same scale of the attack speed, so wanting to play it super safe, even though he had Defender of Olympus on him.
Well, speed buff once again available for Adapting. He's basically had that yellow buff around his waist for the entire series, it feels like so far. And this looks like Adapting is heading back to where's what we used to see him.
5,000 gold in the lead is NRG, approaching the 16-minute mark. Golfier is about to respawn in 10 seconds due time. Not too much vision from either team on that left-hand side. I'm really expecting NRG to just be able to probably put a ward on the left, go for Portal Demon, rinse and repeat if Papis go for this Gold Fury.
Okay, Tolly. It's one of three options, right? Where is Emilito's build going next? What is this item going to be? It's one of three. So which is it?
It's got to be the Beat Stick.
You reckon? This is Emilito.
If it's the Crusher, I'm done.
Why? What's wrong with Crusher?
It just feels kind of awkward.
I can get that. I mean, it could be Jotuns.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually to see it.
It's Emilito. It could be anything.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jotun's Wrath. Cooldown reduction still works really well for how you just spam away those ricochets.
Oh, this is a dirty trap. Look at the angles NRG are closing in from Adapting from the left, Dimmy from the right. Rafa just keeping them all busy, tied up as Adapting takes the red. And Creed's already forced to ult defensively. Dimmy will Eagles rally the backline to keep Warchi busy and get a nice bludgeon off on him too. Meanwhile, it's Dalo that was left against 4 members of NRG, and he won't take long to fall down. Dimmy, meanwhile, zoned away the other 4 members.
It's all a positional battle out of NRG. They knew they had the advantage there because Adapting was like, you know, I could pincer from behind here, or I could go for this red buff.
And the red buff is what you want to get. Overall, it gives you the experience. It continues now for him in the jungle to have a 4-level lead over Dalo, who's currently only level 11.
Just no issues at all for NRG. Having 2 deaths compared to the last game, but only having 1, still doing a good job as they secure themselves that first Gold Fury. Warchi in a little bit of trouble, but he has that ultimate from Draco Marino.
Adapting, though, is going to clean him up. I can see this coming before it even happens. The Aegis bought him a moment, but the spin to win still too good. Emilito Swift Wing coming in handy there to close the gap with the mobility to find the in-hand.
5% is nothing to scoff at here, man. That 800 golden investment for Emilito is the MVP item right there.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. It's the only way NRG are winning this game. Jokes aside, though, Toli, looking at Papis' performance this year and in this split, this has been their first split. This is their final game before the last game of the week for themselves. How have they been? How would you rate them compared to some of the other teams we've seen come up through the Challenger circuit?
Well, they're definitely no Justice or Myrmidons.
But in a good way or a bad way?
In a good way. They're not...
Good. They're better than those.
They're better than those two teams.
I was trying to make sure you clear yourself up there and not say the wrong way around.
They definitely showed a lot of good improvements from week to week, but now against NRG that's online after having a slow start now at this phase, it's not surprising to me to see such a disparity between a Challenger team and the world defending champions.
I do feel we may need to see Dalo start to rotate to solo lane more in next season, just to help out Creed a little bit more, or in change Creed's god pool a little bit. You mentioned the Sobek and the Ymir.
Potentially.
Dimmy, meanwhile, though, under pressure from Dalo, but with Athena coming in, he'll be fine and dandy. Papis hold the tier 2 in the right.
It's all a distraction. It's all a distraction. It's all a positional team fight for NRG. They're like, all right, we're going to just buy enough time for Yaman in the mid lane, playing the Soul, having this Obsidian Shard complete, giving so much penetration in the later stages of the game to melt objectives. And now they can all swing around to the right-hand side. Still no Fire Giant taken by NRG, but I don't think they really need it if they don't want it. They're just winning every fight as it stands. Rafa going to go in and taunt onto 2.5. Sun's rain down onto Draco as Warchi has to stay away from the Suns. He will use his piggies to help him stay alive. Draco's ult is relatively early for Warchi here, and Warchi's still trying to box away, but now he's in trouble. Adapting in the sky, he's trying to figure out a spot to land. I'm going to land onto Draco Marino. Oh, boom, finds the execute onto 2. He needs to find one more, but it's Dimmy now making an impact.
Bludgeon misses, still Ojo Boom holding the ultimate until it's too late. Sentinel's over the wall, but Adapting was waiting there. Instead, Dimmy gonna use the thorns, and he jumps back towards Adapting, who smashes him in the face with the
double Eagles rally, though, and here comes Adapting. He finds one. It's Creed trying to escape, needs to find the 72 transformations, but the ultimate will buy him some time to be able to escape. Adapting is baiting this out. He's going to chase it.
Adapting, see, this is what you need. As a world champion team, you need a little bit of luck now and again. Adapting was just trying to fall back after ganking, and he sees a Sentinel appear next to him. He's like, well, I might as well just stand here and see what happens. And in the end, he's resulted with a nice free in-hand auto-attack kill to give him his 8th of the game.
He was also also zoning out Draco Marino as he dove the backline of that tier 2 tower. Great plays out of Oho Boom. This is the win condition from Papis. If Oho Boom can get off the damage like he did that last team fight, find the executes of the Alma Monster, and then connect on the second one and the third, that is what Papis is relying on.
But the problem is Oho Boom is still a long way from level 20 right now, at only level 14. And once you hit level 20 as Scylla, the Armor Monster does increase in the amount of damage. And when you look at his build, it's very defensive oriented. There's not a whole lot of power in this just yet.
Yeah, but if you get double tap like that from adapting, like, you're not even going to get off any Armor Monsters, honestly. Just all over the place. And gonna look for more things on the left-hand side as we're seeing Emilito trying to potentially go for this tier 1 tower. Golfier's not responding for another minute, but look where adapting is.
Yeah, it looks like you can see Papis is starting to protect the Fire Giant, or they're committing to the Fire Giant. I'm not sure. There's 3 members there right now trying to do it. Yamin is on his way over, though, to defend the Fire Giant as we watch Emilito take a tier 1 tower. Yamin now going to come in with Athena in tow. Damage is actually hurting Papis relatively heavily as Dimmy's going to Eagles rally onto Oho Boom.
Everyone from Papis is just so low. Creed is still on the Fire Giant. Oho Boom is trying to find it from the backhand side. What a desperation move.
Can Papis find it in time? Fire Giant goes their way. Oho Boom will be a casualty. Warchi gets credit for it. They will pick up Yamin, and Creed and Warchi are on the run, but they're going the wrong way.
Everybody's just split in different directions. Adapting is going to be able to catch Dalo on the right. Left-hand side, Draco Marino's trying to stop the split push out of Emilito, and it's Creed that's trying to survive and keep Warchi alive.
Warchi walks straight towards Adapting, has to use the Aegis to avoid the double tap. Meanwhile, Creed will fall. Finally, Adapting finds one. And meanwhile, there's a Lobster trying to defend against Ho Yi with Crusher.
But it's a Fire Giant Lobster.
It is. It's a basing Lobster, though, as well, as the tier 2 tower does fall. Only one tier 2 tower now remains for NRG. Bad news is they can't get the Fire Giant for themselves because Papis did. To be fair, it worked out to deny the Fire Giant from them, but it's not putting them back in the game just yet.
This is how NRG plays. They don't really care about getting these late game objectives themselves if it's not 100% guaranteed, all clean out of them. And this is why they're now going for the Gold Fury, making sure that they still extend their lead even further. They don't really care about trying to go for this tier 2 on the right until they get the more important things in the checklist.
And if you actually just check the graphs right now, you'll see the goal difference is monumental, as is the experience, 17,000. And that 17,000 really is important because most players in this game are still not even level 20. It shows how much of a big difference between these two rosters are now.
And the more important thing is going to be the difference of these junglers here. 5-level lead here between Adapting and Dalo, and a Nemesis that's behind at this stage in the game just feels almost no impact in team fights.
That's what I was saying about the Papis for next split. I feel I'd love to see maybe seeing Dalo start off in the solo lane a little bit more if the meta dictates that play style. Leave Oho Boom in the mid lane on his own. He can hold his own there. I think Creed needs some help in the early game more often than not. This could cause a lot less issues for the Papis on this right-hand side of the map, which has been consistently happening to them game after game.
Just look what QO, Fred, and Adapting did in their games respectively. They constantly put pressure onto the enemy jungler and the speed buff, and this is what got them ahead. And then it was just a slow trickle-down effect to be able to build the lead that they need to. Now, granted, they also managed to capitalize on the enemy teams trying to go for a desperate Gold Fury objective, but that is how you have to start off the game.
And now the Papis are on the left-hand side of the map just trying to farm up, which means NRG will take a free tier 2 tower for themselves. Got to aggress a little bit onto Dalo for a second, who double dashes away, but Papis have done a good job of pushing out mid and left-hand side, so if NRG want to commit to the right, they're doing it without any pressure elsewhere.
Creed is going to try to stop out some backs onto Raffer, at least in the moment. Creed, though, could have been more than he wanted.
Did commit, forces ult early on. Papis looking to potentially engage for a second, it felt like, but they're going to have to fall back to safety. And with Creed's ult now on cooldown, NRG could go again.
Adapting, looking for the stun connects onto Dalo, chucking about 25% of his health pool already. That's not going to dictate the Phoenix quite yet, as you mentioned before. Papis did a great job pushing out left and mid, and NRG are going to have to wait for those minions to start melting this Phoenix.
So they're going to pressure mid lane again. Adapting just hanging off to the left-hand side, Emilito on the right. And that's the big key with these teams on engagements. Splitting up your carries. You don't want to group too close, because if you do, you get hit by multiple things like 3-man taunts.
Raffer finding 2 on the taunt. The Crush doing a little bit of damage as well. Amamatsu connects onto 2, but it's not enough damage to find the Execute. Adapting in the sky, trying to land onto Draco Marino, finds the stun, but the revive is good.
And then he's going to use the spin to pick up Creed, followed by Draco Marino. Demon will take away the triple as he picks up Warchi. Dalo was looking for Raffer, but Raffer's one hit from death and will survive. Oho Boom, different story. He has to send back towards his mountain.
Raffer had his dancing shoes on, and NRG have their Phoenix shoes on. They're able to get the first one of the game.
Phoenix shoes?
Yeah, they got their Phoenix shoes on, man.
What are Phoenix shoes?
They got the Phoenix.
That is something I could see you wearing, Tolly, that's for sure.
Oh, now you gave me an idea.
I know, right? We're going to see some Phoenix shoes at World Championships. Raffer's going to dash an Oho Boom, force him back, give NRG a second Phoenix. Bad news is, Oho Boom on defense, though, will hold out for now, I think.
Yeah.
Worried about the crush, we'll be able to clear the wave in full, and they're just too low to backdoor that Titan with our minions.
And by maxing out the root out of Asilla, you're able to hit multiple targets, so you can't be too grouped up here, especially if you're against a Titan and you want to be able to kite it away a little bit. If you're crippled and rooted in place, not a pleasant place to be, and NRG are going to respect the potential of that from Oho Boom. Back, reset, get healthy, wait for this Fire Giant that's about to respawn in 30 seconds, and then look out to close the second game of the set.
Big 3 points here for NRG today then. They needed the 3 points coming into this one just to make sure they were still in contention to go towards DreamHack. They were expected potentially at the start of the year to just run away with it once again, being 1 or 2 of the top spots, but Europe has really picked up their pace so far this season and caused a lot of more problems further down the rankings you go.
And it's very important for NRG to find this win, considering Rival did not have any success against Dignitas, and this is going to be that 3-point separation between the two. And so now NRG, if they win this, they'll have 12 points. We'll see Rival with 9, and because they have that head-to-head record, there could, if NRG just find at least one game next week, they're guaranteed to Valencia.
Well, we saw Speedbuff stolen away there by Emelito from Adapting in his own jungle, but Adapting will take Dalo's Speedbuff in response. Fire Giant started up by NRG, but Draco Marino showed up, got hit by a triple ricochet and forced to ultimate, and he's still alive for now. He bought a lot of time, but that will allow Papis to get a tier 2, but Dimmy 2v1 him.
Just another day in the office for Dimmy as he dives the left-hand side. Athena onto Raffer. Nice root crush from Oho Boom, but
I tell you what, if Oho Boom would have trusted himself with the ultimate there, he could have potentially found a kill. Meanwhile, NRG couldn't get the Fire Giant, but Thor's in the sky.
Double Thorns coming out of Dimmy, and Raffer really chunking out Oho Boom, not landing onto anybody there. Nice little stunt to prevent Creed from oxing away, but still going to eat about half of his health pool away, adapting with the speed buff as well as Emelito, but Yaman not really wanting to commit.
So in the end, that works out well for the Papis. They get a tier 2 tower on the left-hand side with a bit of split push. NRG didn't even manage to pick it up, and Emelito's just showing off. He doesn't even have to look at the Fire Giant anymore.
Cool,
he can just
guys.
That's what Swiftwing does. But if you saw your Swiftwing, right, it allows you to get War Flag instead and face away as you do the Fire Giant. OP.
He's just on another level. He is just too much for this world. We are not worthy.
We're not.
We're not worthy.
Clearly. We'll see if he does that in games coming up in the future. But for now, it's working out okay, I guess, for NRG. What a troll.
I like it.
You do?
More movement with speed.
I guess.
You clear the wave.
All right, then.
In the mid-Phoenix. They got their Phoenix shoes on with the War Flag.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I'd rather see Watchers or Vanguard. Both of them are more useful.
I like the movement speed.
I don't know. Portal Demon is going to go the way of NRG too, and this is just kind of a slow demise of Papis in this game too. They held on as long as they could. They did manage to get that Fire Giant earlier on that kind of slowed NRG down a bit, but not enough to stop Adapting's absolutely amazing performance today. 13-0-7 totally.
Just 20 kills out of the 24 from his teammates, just all over the place to go from Susanoo into the Thor. It doesn't really matter what god he's playing. He's able to just get off the initial ganks and allow his team to really put pressure as a result of his participation. We saw what Dimmy was able to do off of all of Creed's deaths.
Well, Middle Phoenix is about to spawn, as is the right-hand side Phoenix right now, but there is Fire Minions still pouring into both. Raffer's splitting the difference of going mid as the rest of NRG look for the Phoenix on the left-hand side, which hasn't been taken so far.
And still Papis is trying to hold off with their every last dying breath. Mid Phoenix has respawned.
Raffer torn on 2, and in goes them onto Oho Boom, who's still alive for the time being. Piggy hits onto Emelito as Yamin's taking a brunt of the damage, but Disapparate keeps him alive. I'm a monster already used by Oho Boom, and Dalo's running for his life. Great revive from Draco Marino is on the front side. Creed is trying to buy time, but the monkey's still in trouble.
He's going to be able to get into the graveyard as Adapting hammers him down, but he goes into the sky looking for Oho Boom, connecting.
And he finds the second pick of the engagement. Titan now under threat as 3 members of the Papis. Their game against NRG is about to come to a close as NRG will indeed find the 2-0 up against the Papis here today and put themselves in good standing.